everybody, I'm Sarah and I'm a recorder player. Welcome back to my channel on everything about recorder playing. This video is a little bit late this week, sorry about that. This weekend I was back in England actually conducting a recorder workshop at an arts festival. So it was really nice to be there. I arranged a lot of music for this kind of small recorder orchestra, and we even composed our own piece, and they were so kind as to put me in their newspaper. Today's subject is one that has been requested a lot, namely transposition. Why do we transpose on the recorder? How do we do it? How can you swap between all the different sizes? Do you even have to? What does it all mean? And a lot of you have sent in these questions to me, and I'm going to do my best to answer them today. Transposition is basically moving all the notes higher or lower by the same amount. For example, recorders come in all different sizes and many different keys, from 15 centimeters to 3 meters tall. We talk about recorders in C, in F. We also play a lot with recorders in G and in D. We also see recorders in A, in B flat. Actually, there's recorders in almost every single pitch. But what does that actually mean? A recorder in C or a recorder in F? At a very basic level, it's the note you get when you cover all of the holes, the lowest note. So on the soprano recorder, that's a C. We say the recorder is in C. On an alto recorder, that's an F. We say the alto is in F. Now, of course, we can make it more complicated than this. You can play lower with the help of extending the end of the recorder, extra keys, covering the M with your knee. So maybe saying the lowest note isn't the most helpful. What we can do is take the basic scale with this fingering and whatever you hear, that is the key of the instrument. So if we play that scale on the alto, we hear the scale of F major. That's why this recorder is in F. On the soprano, we hear the scale of C major. It's in C. On the G alto, can you guess what it's going to be? It's the scale of G major. This recorder is in G. As a handy little tip guide for now, the soprano, the fingering with all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 holes covered. On the soprano, it's notated like this. On the alto, it's like this. On the G alto, it's like this, but also could be like this. On the voice flute, it's like this. And on your bass recorder, it's like this. I do have a bass, I just didn't get it out. Modern recorder ensembles are generally arranged in F, C, F, C, F, C. So you will typically have a bass or bassette recorder in F, then a tenor recorder in C, and then an alto recorder in F, and then a descant soprano recorder in C, and then a sopranino recorder in F, just alternating between the two. The great advantage of this is if you can play in C and in F, you can actually play all of them. I probably should have tuned those before doing that. However, there are other sizes of recorder, mainly in G and in D. There is evidence that recorder consorts would actually be tuned in fifths. So you would have a big bass in B flat, then a contrabass in F, and then a bass in C, and then a bassette in G, then a tenor in D, then an alto in A. That means that every single instrument is in a different key, which technically means you will play each one with a different fingering. Some consorts work like that. For example, the great recorder maker Adrian Brown makes consorts tuned in fifths, as well as consorts tuned in FC, FC. Today, recorder players tend to play a lot of G alto. G alto is used a lot in baroque music and Renaissance music, and I really like the G alto because it's a little bit lighter and more agile, so I think, than the F alto. In baroque, namely French baroque, we also speak of a recorder called the voice flute. This is a tenor recorder in D, so it's a tone higher. We call it the voice flute because it was meant to be the instrument that was closest to the human voice. A slightly confusing thing is that my voice flute is in baroque pitch, which is a semitone lower. If we put a tuning instrument next to it, it's going to sound like a C sharp, but for all intents and purposes, we're talking about a recorder in D. So today, let's look at the recorders in F, C, G, and D. What does this mean for your fingers and how you play them? The great thing about recorder players is that we are very resourceful. We transpose the music ourselves. So depending on the recorder you are playing, often recorder players will change their fingers to fit. You are literally learning whole different sets of fingerings for every different recorder. The good news is this is very possible, and the more you do it, the easier it gets. It's literally like learning a new language. When you first begin your second language, it's really confusing and you're having to translate all the time, but the more you do it, the more automatic it gets, the more you begin to think in your new language, and the easier it is to add more to your arsenal. So by getting to know the fingerings for recorders in C and recorders in F, that will already take you a long, long way. The logical ones after that are to add how to read the bass clef, how to read in G, and how to read in D. That will actually give you pretty much everything you need to know. So we read per fingering. Let's take the note C. Hopefully I can put a C here. On the soprano, you will play the C with this fingering. Thumb and second finger. On the alto, you will play the C with this fingering. Thumb, 1, 2, 3. On the G alto, you will play the C with this fingering. Or, that's the thumb, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. On the voice flute in D, remembering that we are in baroque pitch, so it is going to sound a semitone lower, we play the C with this fingering. Thumb, 1, 3, probably 5 or 6, depending on your instrument. For example, we're transposing between the F alto and the G alto. Okay, the G alto sounds one tone higher. To compensate, you need to play everything one tone lower. F alto to voice flute in D. The voice flute sounds a minor third lower. To compensate, you need to finger it a minor third higher. So basically you figure out the difference and then move the other way. The G alto is also a bit of a funny one because you can choose how you transpose it. You can choose to transpose the G alto a tone down or a seventh up, depending on the range of your music and what is going to fit. My tips for learning to transpose. Regular practice. Start slowly and simply. If you try to take a complicated baroque sonata and immediately transpose it, you will give yourself a big headache. I would recommend taking a simple piece with a limited range of notes and really building it up every day. Introduce a new note one at a time, especially with the accidentals. Whenever you move to a recorder in a different key, the accidentals will change, because you're in a new key. The keys of your recorder and the keys of your music are two separate entities. This might be a bit confusing at first. It's important to be aware of. When you're learning a piece in a new transposition, I find it really helpful to pick one note that occurs a lot and have that as kind of my orientation point. So whenever I see that one note, I'm like, yes, it's this fingering. You can then use that note to move from. So it's like, that note and one above, that note, one above, two above, that note. Which also means look at the music. Are the notes in stepwise motion? Are they next to each other? Are there leaps and jumps? Is it a jump of a third? Is it a jump of an octave? You're actually looking at the music as a kind of map, a kind of grid, which brings me to learning it by ear. If you look at the music and know, aha, that's a fifth, make sure you know what a fifth sounds like. For this reason, it can be really helpful to practice with pieces that you know really well. These could be children's songs, nursery rhymes, hymns, pop songs. Challenge yourself by taking a really well-known children's song and trying to figure it out by ear on the different recorders. You could be quite surprised by what accidentals come into play. For example, enables you to get a bit free of the music and spend some time with your recorder rather than worrying about the dots on the page. Some resources. If you have been playing the soprano and you want to learn alto fingering, I really love the books Altblockflötenreise, that means Alto Recorder Journey, by Daniel Hellbach. Yes, the books are in German, but if you already have a basis in recorder playing, it's not a problem. We start with music such as this. So for this one, I would take the C as my orientation point and look at the C, a note up, and we go back down. And these books, there are actually 3 volumes, and by the 3rd volume, you are playing beautiful baroque music, complicated folk music, great arrangements of pop music, and they come with really nice CDs. One nice way to practice this is with Mr. von Eyck. What he did was take popular tunes of the day and he would write the simple theme version and then a variation, then a more complicated variation, then a more complicated variation. So what you actually have is a lot of material gradually increasing in difficulty. So we have bum bum ba da 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 da, that becomes da 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 da. Another thing that's good to do is get your hands on some Renaissance consort music. For example, look at that, you've got 5 voices, and what you can do is you can play the piece in all parts. So maybe the top line on your C soprano, you could try the second line on your G alto, you could try the bottom line on your alto or on a bass. The point is that you're taking one piece and getting to know it in lots of different ways and through lots of different voices. When it's going well with the transposition, you're doing some simple pieces. Challenge yourself by picking pieces with more or less accidentals, in more far-reaching keys, with a wider range. I still sometimes am playing a piece on my G alto and it goes up really high and I'm having to look and think, what are those notes? Some of them cross over. For example, if you're playing the voice flute in D, you read the music as if you were reading an F instrument in bass clef, and then you add 3 flats. A question I get asked a lot is it okay to play on my alto and just use soprano fingerings? I don't want to learn to transpose. My answer is yes. It's fine. If you are making music at home for yourself, if it's giving you a massive headache to try and transpose and you just want to sit at home and play your pieces, please do what makes you feel good. My biggest priority is always finding joy and pleasure in music. But if you want to play together with other people, of course, it's helpful if you're in the same key. So you have two ways of doing that. Learn the new transposition in terms of fingerings or transpose the music. And if you are a professional musician or studying music, you should learn to transpose. So no excuses. If you're making it your job, you should be learning to transpose into every key. Have I said everything about transposition? Thank you very much for watching my video on transposition. I hope it's been helpful for you. If you would like to share your comments or experiences, please do so in the comments. As always, you can subscribe to my channel on everything about recorders. You can do that by clicking me. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.